Leadership is hard, and I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you. The bad news is that I can't make it any easier, but the good news is that we can work on it together to get better. And you want to know the secret? Who you are comes before what you do. It's form before function. So let's get to work together. I'm Preston Poore, and this is PQ. All right, our guest is someone whose name has become synonymous with comedy in Atlanta and beyond. He's mentored countless comedians, helping them hone their craft and find their unique voice. But his influence isn't confined to just the stage. He's brought humor into the workplace, showing how it can be a powerful tool for communication, connection, and even leadership. And before I reveal who our guest is, I want to share a bit about his journey. It's a journey that started with a passion for making people laugh and evolved into a mission to help others do the same. From performing stand-up to running one of the most respected comedy workshops in the country, his career has been a testament to the power of humor in both personal and professional life. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the man behind the laughs. Please help me welcome into the studio, Jeff Justice. Welcome, Jeff.
I'm so impressed with you reading on camera. I can never do that. I always flub everything if I try to read it.
I need a teleprompter or something here now, right? Yeah. So I feel like a news broadcaster, but yeah, that's...
I'm always amazed it can do that and get everything right.
I'd like to know how actually when the teleprompter stops on the newscast, how do they pick up where they are in the paper too? You ever notice they go right to it? And it's pretty good. Hey, let's do this. So before we get going on a conversation today, I love to do this thing called the hot seat where people get to know you a little bit.
Oh, sure.
And they're just goofy questions. I may ask you a little bit to expand on some. We'll just have some fun with it. So let's go with this. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Pecan, caramel, ripple.
That's pretty specific.
Well, it's one the Publix makes, and I happen to enjoy it.
Love it. That's
Actually, I don't eat ice cream. I eat yogurt. Frozen yogurt.
Do they make that flavor in the frozen yogurt?
They do.
Very
That's
nice.
Why I eat it.
Love Publix.
You ever had Yazo bars?
No.
Oh, they're good. They're like 100-calorie frozen yogurt bars.
That's right. I think my wife was eating a mango one the other day.
Yeah.
Yazo. Very good. How about say a word in Spanish?
La biblioteca.
Very nice.
It's actually 2 words. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll take the 2.
And this was from somebody that's failed Spanish 4 times.
Really?
I actually passed it because I promised the teacher I wouldn't take Spanish 2.
Really?
Then I did. So you can't trust anything I say,
I
even
hear
back
you.
then.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Do you believe in love at first sight? Why or why not?
I do. I married my wife like that.
Tell me more about that.
Oh, God, that's too long.
Is that too long of a story?
Too long of a story.
But how did you know, real quick, how did you know that it was love at first sight? Was it her or you?
It was both of us.
Yeah.
I guess when I first met her, she had on 5-inch heels, and I'm going, this is fantastic, beautiful woman, tall and everything. And then next time I met her was at her house. She didn't have the shoes on, and she was 5'1", and she was by far the shortest woman I'd ever dated. But I was still like, she's pretty hot.
Yeah, there you go.
Still something there.
That's good. And how long y'all been married?
37 years.
Oh, man, congratulations.
And we dated for 4 years long distance before that.
Did you? Okay. Yeah. And I've had the great pleasure and joy of meeting your wife as well. So she's a sweetheart and has had a wonderful career as well.
Total babe.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I won't say that, but you can. So it's all good.
Thanks.
How about the favorite number? What's your favorite number and why?
I like 4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with 4. Fantastic 4. Here's a great question. Who has it easier, men or women?
Men.
Oh, definitely.
By far.
Don't you think?
Yeah, because we have women.
Well, there you go. It makes our lives easier because they're here. All right. Have you ever worn socks with sandals before?
Of course.
Where have you done that?
On the beach, where you're supposed to.
That's what you're supposed to do, right? Black socks?
Yeah.
You wear black socks and sandals?
Yes.
That's pretty good.
I was a total loser.
I hear you. Well, me too. Here's a great one. Speaking of laughing, why can't we tickle ourselves?
I have no idea.
Yeah, thank you.
None whatsoever.
Same thing.
It's a mystery.
What does a person need?
Who built the pyramids? Yeah, why don't you just try to answer that one?
Hey, Jeff, here, we've got a history question now, a list for you. We'll keep going here. Let's see. What does a person need to be happy? That's a deep question, but what does a person actually need to be happy in your perspective?
I would say the simplest answer is, besides a spiritual base, is being able to laugh at yourself.
Okay, that's good. Being graceful, able to laugh at yourself, not take yourself so seriously.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that
That's
later.
the key.
Love to hear that. Double dipping a party. Is it appropriate? Is it ever appropriate?
Is somebody watching?
Great question. You got a qualifier on that, right? Okay, but if somebody was not watching,
Yeah.
Okay, you can do it. You can get away
You know what
with
I
it.
would use? I would use the other half of the chip so that I don't get my mouth germs on it, just my finger germs.
That's good. All right. Let's see. What's
You
your
can
favorite?
use that at home, okay?
Okay.
Just give me credit.
I love it. Let's see. What is your favorite summer activity?
Vacationing.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to always take, we still do, take a real good vacation every summer.
Okay. And where did you go last?
It's called Capitola.
Not
It's
familiar.
Santa Cruz, California.
Okay. Okay.
So it's west of, I guess kind of southwest of, you can't be west of San Francisco, can you? I guess
no,
the
well, you'd
land
be in
comes
the
out a
water,
little bit.
kind of, but that's okay. Yeah.
So it's south of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right down. Okay.
Yeah, so I went out there for family reunion.
Kind of down
Beautiful
Highway
place.
1, is that right?
Yeah, I
down?
think
Okay.
so.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Because the
beautiful.
redwoods are there and all that.
Yep. Beautiful part of the country. Absolutely love it. All right, I got a last question for you. If a movie was made of Jeff Justice's life, what genre would it be, and who would play you?
I think it would be a comedy.
You think so?
I hope it would be a comedy. And I guess Jeff Foxworthy would have to play me.
All right. Do you know Jeff?
I did. As a matter of fact, I just heard from his wife because I wrote her on Facebook. I know Greg.
Yeah.
And I said, so has anybody ever gone up to Jeff and said, hey, are you that comedian Jeff Justice? Because I would get it all
Get you
the time with
confused,
Jeff
right?
Foxworthy, right?
Really?
So people would always come up to me and they were like way more interested in me than they should have been. Mm-hmm. And like after a few minutes, I go, I don't think I am who you think I am. They go, well, what do you mean? I go, I'm Jeff Justice, not Jeff Foxworthy. They go, no, I didn't think that. Oh, look at the time.
Yeah, really. Gotta go. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's good. But Jeff is he's a hoot. I've heard
He's a
him
great
live.
guy.
I know, great guy. Does a lot for the city.
One of the real nice
folks
guys.
Here. Yeah, certainly. Before we get going to the questions, I wanted to hear something maybe that people might not know about you. What is that?
I am a international and national martial arts champion.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. How'd you get started in that?
Yeah, I wanted some exercise to do on the road that I didn't have to bring equipment with me and everything. And I was always been interested in martial arts, but not interested in getting kicked in the face or punched. And I found Tai Chi. Very serendipitous how I had found it reading an article and found there was a great school right here in Atlanta. Started studying with them and doing an activity there called push hands, which is kind of a non-combative, supposed to be non-combative competition to, I guess, basically move another person off their foot. Being able to throw them to the side or back or something like that.
So it's a balance type thing, basically.
Bunch of stuff.
Okay.
And I was inherently good at it when I first started and got better at it. And that was one of my big joys, is being like 68 years old and throwing these 22, 23-year-old kids all around.
Yeah, that's great. And so you picked that up, and then how long have you been doing that now?
Since I was 50, so about 23 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you say you competed?
Yeah,
in that?
Competed and won like 2 or 3 national champions and a couple international.
I did not know that about you.
See, that's why I said.
Thank you for
There's something you don't know about me.
No idea. I love that. So that's great. Well, it's good. I wanted to just start moving in a little bit. I have to disclose that you have this comedy workshop, right?
I do.
And fantastic. I actually participated in that about a year and a half ago, and it had a great impact on the way I think about the audience and try to connect with them. And I never saw myself as trying to be a stand-up comedian, but it stretched me in so many ways. And hopefully we can talk about, not necessarily me today, but please don't talk about me and don't need to critique. But I'd love to hear stories about people, right, and how you work with them on that. But I know you want to start a little bit about something about the comedy workshop. What was on your mind around that?
Well, when I first started it, basically I just moved here, got married, and on Monday nights I would go to Jerry Farber's old club. Remember that used to be down on Far Road in Buckhead, and I would go there to work on new material. And I noticed some of the young comedians, the amateur comedians, they were just doing things that I thought were wrong. They were putting the punch word in the wrong place, wrong emphasis. Their jokes seemed like they were too long. And I'm one of those people, I just can't keep my mouth shut. I ask my kids, right? I'm always correcting something, right? And I found out the ones I gave advice to and they took it, not everybody takes your advice, they immediately got better. It's like the next time they were on stage, they were funnier than they were before. Mm-hmm. And after a while, I'm thinking, maybe I actually know what I'm talking about. And I think about 8 of them got together, asked me if I would put together a class, teach them what I knew. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. And at the last minute, I got an idea. I said, hey, why don't we put on a show, like the Little Rascals, right? Mm-hmm. So Jerry let us have the club, held like about 90 people. And I said, invite your friends and family. Well, I was shocked because they packed the place. Mm. And I was even more shocked because the audience was hysterical through the whole thing. And I was even more shocked because at the end of the show, I figured that might be the last time I ever do it. Maybe I'll do it again in a few years if anybody needs it. Mm-hmm. And at the end of their shows, their friends, people like you, came up to me and said, you ever think of doing this for normal people? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, but give you an idea how long ago it was. I said, give me your phone number. If I ever do it again, I'll give you a call. Okay. And that was probably over 3,100 people ago. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Amazing how many people have been through the program. You've had some famous people, I think, go through it too, right? Or at least well-known.
Well, it
business
depends
leaders.
if you. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, the first one was Charles Brewer.
Okay.
And after taking my class, became a billionaire.
Wow. Okay. Certainly.
And Sarah Blakely.
Yes.
After taking my class.
Wow.
Billionaire. I'm not saying that happens to everybody. I know you're waiting for
I'm waiting for my check.
Your check to come in.
That's
but
right.
It was great. Charles is one of those people. I heard audio tapes of him from a friend a few years later. And the first one was before he took the class, and he was horrible. Sorry, Charles, if you're out there listening, but, horrible. Yeah. Just didn't know what to do. Yeah. He took the class, and one of the things he really learned in the class is what we talked about before, being able to laugh at himself.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And the next time I heard another tape of him about a year or so after he took the class, and he was fantastic. And it was all self-effacing humor, laughing at himself for what he didn't know back then, or thought what he knew. Because nobody wants to hear you go up there and tell everybody how great you are and how you do everything perfect, right?
That's right.
It's like the most boring speaker in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a sense of vulnerability, right? If you go up there and share and make light of it about yourself. One thing I learned from you, and I knew you kind of get this common sense is one thing, right? We shouldn't make fun of other people, right? And so that's the idea. You don't need to do that to be funny. Right. Another thing that struck with me that you said is that, it's funny. I was watching I have to confess this. I watched part of the Tom Brady roast. I don't know if you saw that was on HBO. Okay. And so every comedian you can imagine that's popular right now is up there. But one thing you shared with me is that you don't necessarily need to be vulgar to be funny, right? And I always thought if they're throwing around F-bombs and the other stuff out there like that, it's maybe a little lazy. Maybe their genre too, it's their audience. With you. But is that the case? Have you found that to be the case?
It's shocking and it's lazy. Mm-hmm. And the thing about roasts, I just have never liked them. I just never thought it was fun to go up there and say the nastiest things you can say about somebody.
Yeah, right.
Then afterwards go, but we're friends.
Yeah,
right? I'm just going,
Cheers to that, right?
Yeah.
Hey, while we're talking about the workshop, I'd love to hear, can we kind of just dissect it a little bit, if you will? I want to talk a little bit about the sausage making, the process that you put together, because I thought it was so well thought out. I tell you, when I got into the punchline, because we come in, I think it was on Monday nights, Tuesday nights. And we got there, it was late for me. I normally bed at 8 o'clock, so it was hard for me to stay up. But in that, it's a dark place. You don't know everybody, and then you're intimidated already. And I public speak anyway, but I was intimidated as anything to get up there on stage.
But you were probably more prepared than anybody else, just the fact that you did that.
Yeah, maybe so. But walk me through from a training perspective, not looking for you to reveal Jeff Justice's secrets to the comedy workshop. Right. But tell me the thought process, because you've done this so many times and had over 3,000 people participate in and graduate. Walk me through your thought process about how you try to bring somebody along that journey.
Well, I always bring them along very slowly because that's how I brought myself along. A lot of people don't realize I was terrified of speaking in front of groups. I mean, I was one of those people that shook and bumbled my way through my public speaking course in college. And if I had to get up and say something in front of a crowd, I'd almost get choked up about it. But I started working at a magic shop, and I started just doing, a trick for this one person here, and then, 2 people would be up there, and I'd do a few more, 3 or 4, and it kind of gradually got to do it more and more and more,
right,
until the point that I got comfortable being on stage. So with the classes, the first day you're just going up there, learning how to take the mic out, you're saying your name, what you do for a living, maybe why you took the course. Just to get somebody speaking over the mic, realize it doesn't catch on fire, they're not going to die, and everybody else is going to make the same mistakes they are. Because like you said, you got the mic wrong the first time, as mostly everybody else in the class did too.
Yeah, right.
And then the next week, everybody comes in and does their one joke. And they have the option. They can read it or they can memorize it. And we start to, I guess you just call it critiquing because we're helping them rewrite the joke to make it funny. And then next week it's 2 jokes. Next week's 3 jokes. And next week, 147. No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
No,
all those
kidding.
jokes to write through all that. And so the class goes through, and what I thought was really neat, Jeff, is that we were challenged to write a number of lines. I think mine had 15 lines in it, so it had 4 minutes worth of material up there.
Page and a half.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get to that, right?
It does.
And so there was a lot of back and forth with like Jennifer Wright, who works with you.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she was great with me, and you as
and
well.
she works with people on their speeches too, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
That's how she does most of her stuff.
Yeah, so she's great. But it's the writing, you get all that done, but then boom, it's like all of a sudden you look at it at the class, you say, okay, now you've written everything. Guess what? You got to perform them.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the second that probably, I guess the second to last class is I go, now for the bad part. Comedy is 10% writing, 90% delivery.
It is. So true. And so I remember writing on a 3x5 card each one of my jokes, and every morning I went on a walk, I would go through each of those jokes.
Smart man.
Well, yeah. So the memorization is, I'm used to the corporate world where I can get up there and I can throw a PowerPoint slide up there. Right. I remember you referencing this too, that you can talk to anything on the screen, right? Mm-hmm. But when you have to be deliberate in terms of creating something that people might laugh at and that sausage making in it, right. That's what impressed me the most was the thought process that went behind it. So,
and you're going to make it look conversational like you just thought of it.
Yeah.
And there's no reminders. There's no notes up there going, oh, what's my next joke? Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. You know, the payoff, tell me about the payoff, that last session. I remember, and just this is, I guess, maybe some inside baseball, and this is why I would recommend this to anybody. It's the way you treated everybody while we were there.
Oh, we treat them all equally.
Oh, absolutely you did. I mean, you did a wonderful job in that. I remember having a huddle in the back where it was kind of like a football Lombardi type thing, right?
A pep rally, pre-show
right,
pep rally.
We got right out. Everybody was ready to go on the show. You had the lineup set on that whole thing. And then we went up, and you had a specific opening as you were the MC, but you had something that was relevant each time. Mm-hmm. I remember my first joke was about my last name. And so you stuttered through that, so it would be a good segue into what I was saying. And your intentionality behind that was fun. So I just want to tell you how much I love the program, and I highly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, and you know, the graduation is also the payoff to me, too.
No, I bet.
Because to me, there's been nothing more fun in my life outside my marriage, in case my wife's listening, than watching people like you come in that class that first day. 6 weeks later, all they're doing is they're listening to myself, Mark Evans also, and Jennifer Wright, and they're taking our suggestions for rewriting their material, listening to us on delivery, and they're going up there and they're having the night of their life. I mean, you know, it's like fantasy baseball camp, and you get to hit a home run.
Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah. And it was fun. The last thing I think I'll mention about this before we go on, you were great with me. I was up on the stage, and I know that I was getting laughs, and it's funny because you're sitting there in a room of 200 people at the punchline, and cocktails are being served, and everybody's milling
it's a
around
regular comedy night.
I mean, it's a regular environment. But I think I got lost in my lines, and so you can watch it in the video, and we'll probably put that in the show notes, I imagine. But I pause and I look over and I say, "What's the line, Jeff?" And you feed it back to me. Then we went with it. But the fun thing
was... And it got a big laugh. Oh,
it did. Yeah. But the audience loosened up at that point, right? Because they're for you. At least that audience was on it. So
always.
Yeah, it was really good. So fun. Hey, I want to learn. I love origin stories. So you told me about your thing about the magician, how you started slowly. Tell me a little bit about your progression in stand-up comedy, maybe some of the milestones that were for you as you went along that, and maybe some of the people that you met along that journey that helped you.
Sure. So I was working at a magic shop in Atlanta. Used to be down at the Alumni next to the ice skating rink. Some people might remember that from decades ago. And I would get some laughs with some of the little bits that I would do. And I always consider myself the wise guy, the funny guy of the group. Always had the great comment. Went to see a comedy show. It was the only comedy show in Atlanta at that time, probably in 79, at the Excelsior Mill. And there was some of the regular comedians who became well-known later on here in Atlanta, like James Gregory and Grant Turner, people like that, Tim Sattini. And there was one magician on there. And, of course, after a few beers, I'm sitting there going, man, I'm funnier than this guy, really. Sure. And I went up to the manager afterwards, and introduced myself, said, hey, sometime I'd like to come up and, and do this. It's like, sure, you can be on next week. I'm like, okay. And I said, what do you want me to do, like 5 minutes or so? He goes, no, you can do 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, no problem. I had no act. The only thing I had was the tricks that I was doing at the magic shop with a little humorous patter in it. Had never done a show like that in front of a group, and went home, wrote out what I wanted to do, took my tape recorder, taped it to the top of my broomstick so I would have something at microphone height. And every night I would practice it there. Every day at the shop, I would practice the bits on the customers. Went up there that Sunday night, long story short, killed. Everybody else bombed. I got laughs on everything. It couldn't have gone any better. So I went back and, of course, told my girlfriend, I said, I'm a comedian, funny guy, this and that. And I asked the manager, you want me to come back again next week? He goes, no, you can give it a couple weeks. Come on back in 2 weeks. So, of course, I bring her with me now, and I got my tape recorder on the table with her and go up there, do the same routine, nothing.
Crickets.
I mean, it's like every once in a while you hear somebody go, huh. That was it. Matter of fact, later on, she's going, I laughed. I go, you didn't laugh. She goes, I did too. I go, yeah. And I played back the recorder, and every once in a while you hear her go, huh. That was it. And what I didn't realize was that was the birth of comedy here in Atlanta. And there was like 30, 35 people that would come every week. And it was the same people. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I did so great the first time, I was the first fresh face they'd seen in a while. Mm-hmm. And I bombed the second time because I went back and did the same exact jokes. And comedy's not funny the second time around.
Right. It's got to have a little surprise element to it, doesn't it?
They want new, fresh stuff. So I started, but that was enough. That first time getting laughs. Then as a magician, I got booked up at a big magic convention. 900 people there. I got great laughs, and it was just addicting. So just like sticking the best drug in your vein. And I just said, I want more of this. Mm-hmm. And went back and basically sold everything I had, took that $20, moved back to New York, and started knocking on the doors at the comedy clubs there, auditioning. Got passed early on my auditions, and that's what I did. 7 nights a week, I was in the clubs hoping to get on. And building my act, and I was able to get a gig in cruise ships, which I didn't deserve, but I was able to do that and get some money coming in from there. Then it was the rebirth of comedy again. So there was comedy clubs opening all over the country, and they needed acts. Mm-hmm. And I had something that most young comedians didn't have at that time, is I had 20, 25 solid minutes and a car. Okay. And the car was the key. They always needed somebody to drive.
Okay.
So I got all the one-nighter gigs, and I started driving around the country auditioning for clubs and kept going. Got on a bunch of TV shows. I got to work with just about everybody: Seinfeld, Foxworthy, Brian Regan, you name it. Over the years.
Yeah, that's great. Who would you say, I guess, was the most impactful on you? Was there anybody that took you aside and said, "Hey, Jeff, here, let me give you some tips," or is there a takeaway you took from somebody? I'm not going to lead the witness on this, but there was something you said about Jerry Seinfeld that stuck with me.
Actually, it was David Copperfield.
Well, there you go. Hey, Jeff's conversation today was so good that we put it into 2 parts. And so if you'll tune in next time, you'll hear a little bit about what David Copperfield said to Jeff to help him find his comedic voice, how Jeff gained confidence to stand up in front of people night after night, how not to take yourself too seriously, and what Jeff wished he knew as a beginner comic, and so much more. Hey, if you want to follow me, check me out on LinkedIn or join me and sign up for my email list. I'm Preston Poore. This is PQ. Take care and talk soon.